Okay. Hi there. How is everybody doing today? So, if you are joining me, I first off want to thank you all very much. I'm gonna wait for some people to show up and everything, but today is the 20th anniversary of my channel. Literally 20 years ago on this day, I joined YouTube for the first time and I uploaded like a bunch of videos that I had on my old website. And because my, what was it, the bandwidth on my channel was so expensive because I had all these movies being downloaded, my website kept crashing. So someone had turned me on to the concept of YouTube at the time. And I was like, all right, fine, 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 fine. So created an account on December 20th, 2005, and I uploaded The Nightmares on Halloween, Friday the 31st, and a bunch of other shorts that I had done at that time. And my channel was born. So, yeah, it's pretty wild that it's been literally 20 years of doing this on this platform. It's one thing to say like, "Oh, I've been making movies for 22 years," but I've been on YouTube for exactly 20 years. That's weird. There are videos on this channel that will now say 20 years old. You're old. I'm old. I mean, look at this. So, yeah. So apart from celebrating 2 decades on this platform, we are going to discuss a year in review of 2025 and everything that I've made over this year. I did 13 short films this year that I've released, and I filmed like, I want to say 14 of them. So yeah, it's been a very productive year for me, which is nice. I've had not as productive as other years in the past, but I'm now creating like a steady a schedule of releasing at least like one short film a month. So also I've asked for you guys to put your questions and comments in the chat. Ask anything and I'll answer it, and I'll get to those as well. But I will say to Yo24 YT, thank you. I very much appreciate that. It's a very kind of you to say. So anyway, we're now going to get into the thick of it. We're going to go over what I've done for this year, and I'm going to discuss like the process of making each of these movies. And again, if you have questions about those particular projects, I'll happily answer them. We're going to discuss what I'm going to be doing in 2026, and then we can also just gossip about other comic book related things. So here we are. The first thing I put out this year was the Batman, and it's on the upper left corner. For those of you who don't realize, this is my legally safe version of Batman. He is a vigilante with baseball bats, and I wanted to see, the whole point of making this was to see, could I actually get away with making an entire movie that was essentially copyright free or not a trademark infringement of DC's character. And that was the goal, and I created the Batman. And I like the idea so much. I first designed the character as a joke. Like, I'll see if I could upload the first image I drew of the character. Give me 1 second. I drew this in like the fall of 2024. And I always had the idea in the back of my head, like, how funny would it be if there was a character called the Batman and he just had baseball bats? But I definitely went the distance with this guy. So I believe this was the very first image of the character that I had drawn. And I thought to myself, why not? This seems kind of cute. And then I said, no, sorry, this is the second image I drew of the character. But regardless, I said, screw it. Let's just see what I can do. And I wrote out a story, and it actually was pretty fun. And I'm like, all right, cool. I kind of like this. And I just started developing the Batman as an actual character. With the short film and everything, it was actually one of my faster productions. I made this in 25 hours. from after writing the script and casting everybody, from when everyone showed up. So Austin Trace, who was the Batman, Leon Sheen, Stuart Hamill, and Eric Birch were the whole cast. And from them showing up on set to actually wrapping production and editing the movie and having something that I was ready to put on YouTube, or at least having like the first edit, took 25 hours. And that's including time for me to eat and sleep and shower and then kind of go about my day a little bit. So I was actually really happy with how quickly I was able to turn that one out and, you know, make that project. So I was very proud of the Batman. I thought it was a fun little concept that I wanted to just want to do, like a black and white noir movie that wasn't just another fan film, because I do a lot of fan films. That's kind of why you're here. That's pretty much how you know me, is through fan films. But doing the Batman felt original. It felt fresh. It felt new. And it was nice giving like this new character of a horror treatment where he just shows up, fucks up everybody, and then he's gone. The second project, which is directly next to the Batman, is True Crime Chapter 2. I had released True Crime Chapter 1 in 2024. It was my last film of the year. So that was December of 2024. And then True Crime Chapter 2 was an expansion on that story. You'll notice for 2025, I did a lot of part twos. I did, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. I did 4 part twos in 2025, which is interesting. But for True Crime, I wanted to, I thought to myself, like, the first film was a silent film, essentially. The only thing you heard was the narration of the podcast that Lindsay's character was listening to. No one really had any actual lines other than like hello or saying the name of somebody. There was no actual interaction with anything. And I thought, how can I continue that story? And I don't want it to get redundant or boring. So for the second one, I went with a time loop story, so to speak. I'd always wanted to try a time loop. I wanted to do one with Jay Garrick's Flash, but I never could. So I started doing it with True Crime. And then I really wanted to just go beyond. Like, I like the idea of the killer, the Metro City slasher, being this supernatural thing that appears if you listen to the podcast, he'll show up and he'll kill you. But I wanted to get into what the hell he was. So I went full on cosmic horror with him being like the act of consequence, you know, like some sort of like what's his freaking name? The guy who created Cthulhu. Someone please write it in the chat because I can't remember his name right now. I just thought, you know, that would be kind of neat and interesting, and just see, like, you know, once you start listening to podcasts, it's just way too late. But anyway, I'm digressing and I'm rambling because I can't think of his name and it's driving me crazy. It's not Wells. No, not Wells either. Please, somebody, what is the name of the guy who created Cthulhu? I'm going crazy over here. We shot True Crime 2, I want to say, in also one day. We did all of the scenes that were when you like cross over into like the black void. We did those first during the daytime, and then when it got darker out, we shot all of the stuff with Stuart and Caroline. Tom returned as the Metro City slasher. Lovecraft, thank you, HP Lovecraft. Very Lovecrafty, and that was the word I was looking for. Yeah, the whole thing I think was done in about 6 hours. Filming was about 6 hours. And then I think I did like some pickup shots here and there because I may have forgot something or whatever. But I like being able to shoot really, really fast and get something done really quick, because it helps me save on time and build up like a stock of movies, as opposed to I'm trying to play catch up. Like, if I'm wanting to release one short film a month and I'm shooting that short film in that month and then releasing at the end of the month, I'm behind and it's exhausting, versus I can get like 3 short films done in 1 month and then boom, I basically have like 2 to 3 months off where I can just take my time. So the Batman and True Crime 2 being as quick as they were, I was able to kind of just start building up And that was one thing I did this year, was just being able to have more movies that were in the can, ready to release, rather than having to shoot them and then release them at like the last minute. And that did happen, though. That actually did happen later in the year, which was very nerve-wracking. And I'll get to what that problem was. I will answer some questions that we have here in the chat. Our first question comes from my buddy Tyler. Chris, how do you feel about Brainiac, the Brainiac casting in Man of Tomorrow? I don't really know the actor at all. I don't know the actor either, but he looks like, if you shave his head and paint him green, he looks like the Alex Ross painting. So I know the guy is German, so I don't know if he's going to have a German accent as Brainiac. It would be kind of interesting to have a German Brainiac. I didn't know Kryptonians were German, but we'll see. And then let's see. Are you excited for Spider-Man Noir? I am. I'm going to be watching the black and white version. I know that there's going to be a color version and a black and white version, but if it's Noir, I want black and white. So I'll be watching that version of it. AJ says, can you identify a weakness you'd like to turn into a strength in 2026? I think my biggest weakness has been, I want to say, sound quality. You can watch my movies and go, oh, that sounded fine, but I want to have like just better sound and better, like, okay, one of my biggest problems when I'm shooting is I'm shooting on this little guy right here, this little microphone with his little, wiglet that I made for him. And he suffers from electrical interference. So there are some times where I'm on location and I'm filming, and because I don't have headphones, I can't tell when there's electrical interference until in post, when I'm reviewing the footage and I hear this high-pitched frequency or the static that's destroying my sound. And that's happened on many occasions. Sometimes I can edit that sound out. Other times I can't. Other times I have to dub the whole thing, and that sucks. I'm not going to point out which projects had that. If you can't figure it out, then I did my job. But if you are a professional and you listen, or you have a really good ear, you may know when something is either being dubbed, or you may hear frequency that is, I've tried to silence in some of my stuff, but it's just not working. So I want to focus on improving my sound quality. Excuse me. And that really comes down to selecting either better locations that have optimal sound, or being more aware of where, for example, a cell tower is or power lines are, because usually when I'm standing under power lines and I'm filming, I'm going to get that noise. So that's what I want to focus on. Any unrevealed major DC or Marvel characters you plan on making a film about next year? Yes. Remind me once I get to Miss Fury. Tyler, remind me, and then I'll go into that one for you. It's generally a good character though, like Casey Jones, Kick-Ass combined. I don't know. Oh, you're referring to Batman. Thank you. I wonder if you take requests for your films. Yes, I do, Bobby. The requests, in order to make those work, are one of two things. One, either I'm asking for requests on my channel and I go, give me a suggestion, and if I can make it work, I can. Or if you have money, you fund it, I film it. So if you're like, Chris, I want you to make Ambush Bug the movie. Okay, do you have money for me to make an Ambush Bug movie? Great, let's make it happen. But if I'm like, give me a suggestion, and you suggest Ambush Bug, and I go, okay, yeah, I do want to do Ambush Bug, then that one's on me. But I currently don't want to do Ambush Bug. So if I don't want to do something, but you want me to make something, you give me money. But if I want to do something, but I don't know what it is, and you suggest something and it clicks with me, I'll do it on my own. That's usually how it works. I always wondered on fan films and smaller budgets, when you're done after a day of shooting, do you and your crew just ever hang out? Oh yeah, no, we totally hang out after, like when we, specifically with the Batman, after we finished filming, we were kind of just hanging out in the alley, just like chit chatting, because the scene where what was it? I think it was actually the scene where Steve is picked up and shoved in the car. The opening shot, I think, was the last shot of the movie, because I believe we shot everything in that dark room first, and then we shot the alley scene last. And so yeah, after we finished filming, we were hanging out for like a good 15-20 minutes, just kind of chit-chatting about stuff. It was Stuart's first project with me. Leon had worked with me before, so he was, talking on my behalf. And yeah, so we definitely hang out. I don't just like say, all right, that's it, leave, I'm done with you people. I'm very personable. And then what did Bobby say here? I wonder if you do requests like, yeah, I would like to see an R-rated Raphael movie and make him like Rambo. Yeah, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, as much as I would love to do that, a Raphael Ninja Turtle costume is way too expensive for me to just save up a few bucks here and there and do. I'm not going to take like my allowance or my lunch money and buy a Raphael costume. And I sure as hell am not going to get like a shitty Ruby's costume or something off of Amazon. If I ever did a Ninja Turtle, they're going to look like the Jim Henson's Muppets with like moving mouths and eyes. So I need a real budget for that. So unfortunately, that's just not in the cards. But it would be cool to see like a Raphael movie where he's like, fucking people up or foot ninjas up. But unfortunately, I can't do that. So getting back to things, after True Crime, I had done Batman Beyond. So this is something I wanted to do for a long time. I always wanted to do Batman Beyond, but I never had like a take on the character that wasn't generic. I had written a Batman Beyond script back in like 2006, and it was so standard. Dana gets attacked by some goons in an alley. Bruce is yelling at Terry on the intercom, and Batman shows up, and it's just stupid. And if you watch any other Batman fan film, it's always the same thing. There's always Batman on the intercom barking orders at Terry, and then Terry is, either fighting people or getting his ass kicked and rescuing someone. There's nothing new or different about it. And then I was thinking to myself last year when I decided to fully go ahead and pull the sucker off, how can I make Batman Beyond new and fresh and not the standard formula of old Bruce yelling at young Terry and then mission? And then I said, okay, well, what if Bruce is dead? Now what? How do you go about things when you had a voice in your whole career and now he's gone? So that was the setup. Was and I also wanted to do Joker. I really wanted to have Joker in it. So and I didn't want to have a repeat of the Return of the Joker, the animated movie. So I wanted to think of a cool way to bring the Joker back and to not have Bruce Wayne there. So I'm like, okay, Bruce Wayne's dead. Joker is like a backup AI system. Or no, sorry, not a backup. They did what they did in Virtuosity, where they took the mind of the Joker and they recreated it as an AI to train FBI agents. And I'm like, that's a terrible fucking idea in reality, but awesome for a movie, because that's what Sid 6.7 was at Virtuosity. So I went with that. And then, of course, bringing in Barbara Gordon, I thought it'd be kind of cool to reconcile the events of what was it, The Killing Joke, where Joker shot her. So having her get like having Barbara get revenge on a version of the Joker, I thought was nice too. That one, unfortunately, was a very, very troubled production. The biggest problem was, I want to say, filming the suit. The helmet was really, really cool, but it was very oversized. And even on my actor, who was huge, this dude was like 6'2", muscular and everything, and the helmet was still on him. Like, he had a tiny head. On me, I had a big ass head, so it fit just fine. But yeah, on him, it was still wobbly. So I wasn't able to do anything cool with the bat suit. I couldn't have him like jump down and fly. I had to stuff like a t-shirt on top of the helmet to keep it like steady and like kind of fill out the empty space. So I didn't get to do a whole lot. I did more with Terry than I did with Batman in a Batman Beyond movie. So that kind of bummed me out. Also, the suit kind of was on the more makeshift side. I really wanted to stay as close as I could to the original design, which is a very simplistic thing. So like we had an iron-on bat, but it kept peeling off because the dude, I think his name was Mason, was so buff. Anytime he'd flex, the like little tips of the wings were starting to peel, and I'm like, stop, stop, stop! Like stop being so muscular. Um, and then because the final sequence where we were in Barbara's apartment was a rented location, I was on a time crunch. I had to do so much in so little time, which I'm used to working fast, but when I don't have Dominion, when it's not my actual place and I'm now being charged by the hour, it's a different thing altogether because, oh, I forgot something in my own location. Oh, we'll just go back and shoot. But if I'm paying for a location, I forgot something, I can't go back and shoot without re-renting that location and dealing with schedules and whatnot. So there were some things that I had forgot to shoot, like angles that I wanted, or there's a shot that didn't come out the way I wanted, and I wanted to go back and I couldn't because actors weren't available. Location was going to charge me, so I had to make do with what I had. Oh, and also I forgot, my actress who played Barbara Gordon, she actually was going to have this. This was going to be her gun. This is from Blade Runner 2049. Is the weapon that Ryan Gosling had. And I thought it was really cool. She broke it on the first take. And I was like, fuck, like this is a 3D printed thing. And she snapped it off entirely. And I was so upset because I'm like, no, the really, really cool gun that I had is broken. Thankfully, I had a backup pistol that we had used for Leon's character. So we ended up just reusing his gun, but I just thought this was so much cooler looking, and I didn't get to use it because it was freaking broke. And I tried like taping it. I think I tried to run to the store and get some crazy glue, but there was nothing open. So really bummed out about that because I was really trying to have that futuristic vibe on a no budget movie, and breaking your prop on the first take sucks. And I'm no stranger to that. 2011, Roberto, who was my Freddy, we had gotten him a brand new claw for Nightmares on Halloween 2, and the first take when he falls on the floor, he breaks the index finger claw off, and I'm running around trying to find like a welder to weld the sucker back on, and it just kept freaking breaking. So yeah, props breaking on the first take sucks. So always have a backup plan just in case someone breaks something. Let's see here. What do we got? Are there some fan films that I want to make one day? And one of the projects that I would love to do is War of the Monsters. Okay, cool. You're gonna need a budget for monsters. I'll just tell you that right now. I'm curious, where do you cast? Where do you get the suits made? Can you plug them? What camera do you use? Okay, so I cast off of casting networks. There's LA Casting, NY Casting. Sometimes I use Backstage. Sometimes I use Model Mayhem. The suits, I typically either, if I can't find the suit on Amazon or eBay or Etsy, I make it myself because, you got to do what you got to do. And then what camera do I use? This is my camera. It is a Canon 5D, and I shoot on a 28 to 105 lens, and I've been working with this for I want to say like 14 years, 13, 14 years. I first started using this in 2013. I guess, what is that, 12 years? I can't math right now, guys. I'm so sorry. In Another Tale from Elm Street was the first time I used the Canon, and then that was someone else's. And then I got my own, and I started using that from 2014 on. So I've been working with this camera, I guess, for the last 11 years. What else we got? A Panasonic Lumix G7. It's a good camera. Go for it. Anything that's HD nowadays that has a good frame rate, use it. There's no reason not to. My camera is a workhorse camera, and it's also really old. So yeah, if you get like a camera that shoots on 4K, awesome. Let's see. Batman Beyond was my favorite. You killed it, and the writing storytelling felt like an animated. Yes, thank you. The goal of the Batman Beyond short was to actually make it feel like just a continuation from they did a Batman Beyond episode in Justice League Unlimited called I think it was The Call, honestly. It was the one where Terry finds out that he's actually Bruce Wayne's biological clone son, and he's old and Bruce is like 90 something, and so I kind of wanted to go from there onwards with the story as opposed to him being a teenager. Everyone always does like either Terry as a teenager or like a young adult and an elderly Bruce, but even though my actor was in his 20s, I wanted him to appear a little bit older, or at the very least Bruce was just dead and he was still young. But thank you, I'm glad you appreciated that. The suit made perfect sense. It's the future. Of course, it's going to be fitted. Yes. A lot of fan films that I've seen for Batman Beyond, they always give him like Iron Man armor where it's 3D printed and it's bulky and he's got like all kinds of like pistons and gears on him. And it's like, but wait, this is the future. It should be a cool streamlined outfit. Why does he have to look like Iron Man? So thank you. I'm glad you agree. Anyone that isn't a nerd can't relate to one of our things breaking. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you. It's one thing like you break something on your own, but when you're on set and you need that thing so much and it breaks, oh God, it sucks. It really sucks because then you have to improvise as to what are you going to do now? Can you fix it? Can you cheat it? Can you shoot without it? It's a bitch. Thank you, Wildcard. I'm glad you like my work. And then let's see here. Heck yeah, raw development, keep things exclusive. Yeah, I'll be explaining some more stuff. Don't worry. Any chance another Freedom Fighter might cameo in Phantom Lady? That's a good question. I don't know per se. I'm doing next after Phantom Lady is Miss Fury, and then I'll be doing the Black Hood, which I'll get into. The Freedom Fighters, were they public domain or was that a DC thing? Because I'm specifically doing the public domain versions of characters. So if there are Freedom Fighters that, I mean, I know the characters are essentially all public domain, but I don't know if the team was formed. Because again, like the Freedom, you have a freaking Uncle Sam, you have a robot. It was a Big Red or something. It's a lot of characters, so I don't know if I can pull it off, but I digress. Pardon me for 1 second. Those of you who know me know I love my Pizza Hut red cups. Am I crazy? Or the Freedom Fighters also? Yes, the Freedom Fighters are on DC's Earth X, and the Ray is the leader of that team. And I'm not doing any of that. Let's see. I would love to see a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat film. I did make a Street Fighter short film that's on my channel back in 2010, and I made a Sub-Zero versus Scorpion short film in 2021 that's also on my channel. So I highly recommend checking those out if that's your cup of tea. Phantom Lady was owned by a different brand at first, and then DC bought her. It might be complex. It is. With Phantom Lady specifically, you have to. So she is trademarked for print. So I can't make a Phantom Lady comic book, but I can make a Phantom Lady movie, which is interesting because there's an actual movie called Phantom Lady that has nothing to do with the character, and it came out in 1944. Also, I'm doing Sandra Knight, and the version that is in DC is someone else. Her name escapes me right now. There was like Jennifer, and then there's like someone else. I don't know her name, but she's the current Phantom Lady who has like portal technology. It's wild. I'm keeping it simple. Moving on, the next project is the Batman 2. I thought it was kind of funny that I was releasing a Batman back-to-back, but the first Batman I really enjoyed making, and people really liked the character, so I kind of wanted to continue the story a little bit. I wanted to tell with the Batman, I wanted the story to be from the perspective of the criminals. I didn't want to do a superhero story. I never want to see him take off his mask. I don't want to know what his real name is. I don't want to know where he lives or what he does or why he's doing it. I kind of want him just to be like a boogeyman who shows up, fucks up people, and leaves. And, you know, has his own disdain for crime, and that's about it. So I wanted to tell a little bit more of a complex story. So we continued to where the short film, the first one left off, where the three guys that the Batman fucked up were there, and now their bosses show up, and you find out that they're cops. And I thought that was kind of cool, uncovering this trail of corruption that goes from street level drug pushers to actual police officers who are, um, you know, selling drugs on the street, basically, that they've presumably confiscated in other drug busts. So that was fun. Um, and I wanted to just kind of show that, like, you have that progression of sometimes it's not just low life thugs who are making your neighborhood terrible. Sometimes they are being funded by other organizations, and in this instance, it's the police. And that, even the police are not above, getting their faces mashed in with a baseball bat. I believe I did that one in 2 nights. The scene with I actually played the captain, the police captain in this movie, and I didn't want to. The Tom Poprovsky was originally supposed to do the part, but he was not available that evening, and so I stepped in last minute, threw on a pair of glasses and a shirt, and played the character. And what bummed me out about that project was because I was acting, I didn't get to really direct myself the way I wanted to. I wasn't behind the camera, so I had to film myself, review the footage, and then redo the scene again if I didn't like the performance. And it's very hard to tweak your own performance when there's no one there to tweak it but you. And that includes lighting, rack focusing, positioning, sound, all of it. It's very difficult. So any director that wants to act in their own movies, either A, they're full of shit because you really shouldn't. Cameo in your stuff is fine. And when I did the character Chuck, I'm sitting down in the car the whole goddamn time. I'm not moving around. But when you see other actors who want to star in their own projects, either A, they're terrible, or B, they're working with somebody who's going to actually direct them. So they're not actually directing, they're being directed, and they're taking the credit for it, which isn't cool. But I've always said that, if you want to be a director, you got to put your ego aside and just direct and not act. I only did it because I had to, because there was no one else in the movie needed to get made. And I had other people that were there, and I didn't want to waste their time. So I came in last minute and did the scene. It's fine, but I know if I wasn't acting in it and I can get somebody else in, I would have got a better performance, a more believable performance. Also, I was a little bit heavier at the time, and I didn't like how I looked on camera. So there's my narcissism coming into play. What do we got here? Phantom ladies get replaced faster than Gillette razors. That's true. We're still talking about the public domain and DC version of the character. The DC version of the character has like 5 different identities. It's weird. Let's see. That is a good story. Street level Batman is real Batman. Not a fan when they up him to world and galactic hero. Yeah, that always got me with Batman. Like, I know the whole prep time thing of, oh, just give Batman the right amount of prep time. He can handle any situation. Like, he can fight Darkseid. He can fucking beat Galactus if he needed to. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. He's the world's greatest detective, but he's not omniscient. Okay, everyone has their limits, and yes, Bruce Wayne is a billionaire, trillionaire, but be still for a second. He can't do everything. I Daredevil is a better Batman sometimes than Batman, because Daredevil has his limits, and I like that. I like that we have characters with limits, and anytime Batman is escalated beyond just a really, really smart person who can fight, bothers me. So yeah, I agree with you. My version of the Batman is where I think Batman should be as a character. Just someone who is incredibly focused, has their means, and is able to perform and carry on their crusade without God level experience. You're probably too critical of yourself as well, and maybe I am. But maybe that's why my stuff is so good, because I'm critical of myself. Thank you. I love Blinky too. That's why I'm here. So the next project after Batman 2 Part 2 was Stalker. which is kind of up that way. It's the black and white one. I did a lot of black and white stuff this year, which I was pretty happy with. I did 1, 2, 3, 4.5. I did, or 3.5 technically. I did 3.5 black and white movies, which is fun. Stalker is a remake of my very, very first short film from 1999. I was in a film class at the School of Visual Arts, which was the college I ended up going to. It was a prep course. I think it was a summer prep course or a fall. I can't remember, but they gave me an 8mm camera and they said, make something. And I had just seen David Bowie and Trent Reznor's music video for "I'm Afraid of Americans," and I was jamming to that song. That was my track for that summer. And so I wanted to basically rip it off, and I did. I totally ripped it. I had 2 kids from my class, and one is leaving the subway, and then the other dude's stalking him, and everywhere he goes, there he is, and it's the is he real, is he not real type thing, and then he goes crazy and kind of walks off. But because it was an 8mm, because it was an 8mm movie, and I didn't have the ability to do playback at the time. You're shooting on a camera, a Bolex camera. You don't get the luxury of, with nowadays you have an LCD screen, everything is digital. You can play it back and say, oh, that sucked, let's just do that again. So I shot what I shot, and then I edited on a Moviola, and for what it was, for a 16-year-old who had never made a movie before, I did pretty okay. I even, I think I even cut it to music when I re-uploaded the original version to my channel. But I thought to myself, what if I remade it now? So this was Stuart's second project with me, and Austin, I called him up also. Austin was Austin was the Batman. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, nothing wild. You want to just go downtown and shoot something? They're like, sure, fuck yeah. So we met up downtown, and I remade the movie in about 2 hours. I had Austin chasing Stuart around, and I, decided to this time develop it a little bit more with Stuart's look, making him more of like an uptight, nervous, twitchy businessman, and Austin looking like a creepy dude in the subway. And then using, 20 plus years of filmmaking skills, editing, lighting, and camera work, I think I told a much more compelling story of a guy who's just really paranoid, and there's some creepo chasing him, and then is he real, is he not real, and then he fucking attacks him at the end, and we go to credits. I also specifically wanted to recapture the grainy vibe that I had, because my original short film was 8mm, and film ages. It aged back. It was already gritty when I shot it, but I found the reel, and I had the reel digitally scanned. So, and I uploaded it to my channel. That footage is old. You could see the scratches and the marks on the film and everything. And now I'm shooting on digital, so I wanted to try and get that vibe back and make it feel like it was just old and dirty. So I did a lot of post-production work on my footage to make it jittery and scratchy and feel like it's coming through an old projector as opposed to a modern day video. And that was a cool challenge for myself. The next project after that was Turn 2. If you're a fan of my work, and you may have seen Turned 1, which I released 10 years ago in 2015. I had always wanted to make Turned into a feature, and I have, the scripts and everything, but I couldn't pull it off because it's like a $5 million movie, and I don't have $5 million. So I had written Turn 2. I was going to try and do that as a comic book back in 2018, but that fell apart. I have a couple of pages I shot, but some of the models I was working with, I lost touch with. So the whole thing just died out. So I thought to myself, what's something I could do? And I had just worked with Brittany, who is the main character. I had worked with her on the Batman 2. She was this prostitute on the street, basically, but she's a really talented actress, and I wanted to give her something else to do. And she was a martial artist. And I go, what is something you want to do? She wanted to do action. So I go, cool. All right, I'll make you a vampire slayer. And so I just whipped up a story, and we shot that in 2 days. There's the whole scene that takes place on an overlook we had one day where it was just completely cloudy out, and I was so happy. It was overcast and gross, and not gross, but just gray, very gray. And we shot that scene in like 2 hours in between cars coming and going and being really loud. And then the next scene, which was the alley fight, we did at night on another night and on another day altogether. And that was really cool. I had choreographed the fight for that one from start to finish. And my problem with turn two, we had a couple of problems. The first and the biggest problem was one of the fighters in the movie did not what's the word I'm looking for? Could not retain the information I gave to him regarding his choreography. And he nearly hit Brittany, if not actually hit her with like his prop on several occasions. This dude was so uncoordinated, yet he said he was a skilled fighter, and I was pissed because I was like, the fuck, man? Like, how am I going to do this fight when you can't even throw a single punch without looking like a stiff-ass doll? So I had to really edit the shit out of that fight scene. And then I actually had to go back and do some insert shots with myself using my hands for his hands so that they would look like they actually connected versus like if he's throwing a punch like this and it's terrible, I had to insert my hand to come in and go like that and everything. And so it was a very difficult fight to edit. But once his character was dead, and then the second part of the fight happened, that was much smoother. Everything went by really fucking fast. But that was a hell of a challenge, filling in and editing someone who was really terrible to look semi-competent on screen, if not cool on screen. I'm not going to tell you which guy it was, but if you watch the short, you let me know which one you think it is. And I had done this for Batman Beyond, but I finally expanded upon it. Batman Beyond was the first short film where I had a projected background. The opening sequences with Batman and Barbara on the rooftop of Gotham PD were in camera. I didn't use any green screen on that one. I had created these backgrounds in post, or had gotten stock images and or video from like Cyberpunk 2077 and made them look like Gotham City. And then I had a DVD projector that I shot in camera onto a white screen and then put my actors in front of it. And this is an old school filmmaking technique from 100 years ago, right? But I was doing that for Batman Beyond. And then for turn two, there's an opening sequence where not an opening sequence, but there's a sequence where the vampire Johnny Wang is dancing in a club. And I didn't have a club. So I created a background of people dancing and put him in front of it with Brittany and Lindsay, my wife. They were just dancing in front as shadowy figures. So it looked like he was surrounded by women and people in a packed club, but he actually wasn't. He was just in an empty apartment with me filming and two girls in front of him and a projection in the background. It was really cool because I pulled it off. I then later used that effect in Phantom Lane, and I'll get to that. But that was a really fun challenge to create something I had zero access to and would not be able to do practically. You want to have a dance club, that's already a pain in the ass. You want to have a crowded dance club, that's a double pain in the ass when you have no money. So that was really fun. And then, of course, choreographing the fight was a heck of a challenge. But I had already been doing choreography. Like I did the choreography in the Batman, did the choreography in Batman Beyond. I had done choreography for some of the other things in the previous year. I'm not remembering what I shot right now because, Bond, the James Bond thing. So yeah, I by the time I hit turn two, I think I was experienced enough that I could do a solid fight, a 2-part fight, no less. And I think I pulled that one off. And then on the top, where am I pointing to? On the top, right here on the far top, top right, we have Haunted City Venator. That is the third and final installment to the Lucy saga in Haunted City. If you're familiar with my Haunted City series, it's a supernatural vigilante story where the protagonists are ghosts and they're hunting down people. Jane was the first one. I did 3 shorts with Jane, and then did 3 radio plays with Jane. I introduced Lucy in the radio plays. And then I liked the character so much because she's a villain. I wanted to kind of do her dark origins, like, you know, Anakin Skywalker turning into Darth Vader. So in 2024, we did Haunted City 1977 and 85. And then this was the third chapter where she fully becomes the villain of the story. And that was fun. Expanding on the lore. I think we shot that one in like 2 nights. Trying to remember. Yeah, we did one night where her scenes with Kevin, where he's this demon. He was in the previous short film, 85. And then we did the scenes with, you know, Austin and Stewart, and you just see her become like a real menace. And that one, I also wanted to go practical, like the saber that Austin is holding. It's like this green thing. I thought maybe I could do a digital version, but I said, screw it. I don't want to mess with it. So I actually created my own like little lightsaber. I went to the dollar store and I found the cheapy ones and I stuck it on a flashlight. So it was really bright. But yeah, that was a practical effect. I think I just embellished it a little bit in post. And then I wanted to show how Lindsay's character was, you know, learning magic and becoming more and more powerful. The only real problem with this short film was the actress who was playing Death and had played Death for all of the Haunted Cities. I had a falling out with her in 2024, and she wasn't present in the other two spinoffs, which were 1919 and 1692, and I had to get replacement actors. And I couldn't justify having a replacement actor in this one, given that Lindsay had interacted with her in the last two shorts. So I had to write Death out entirely, that she was acting alone and doing her own thing. And that is a challenge, I will say. When you are working with an actor for an extended period of time on a specific project where they played the character over and over again, so it's like it's their character. Everyone knows them as that character. And then for whatever reason, you part ways, you're no longer working with them. You have to then make that decision. Are you going to write the character out, or are you going to recast? Either way has a consequence, because their presence or lack of presence will be felt. People will go, oh, where's this character? I really like them. Or why did you recast? I really like that other person. Or as other people just don't even notice, you know, sometimes the casting is so good they don't even register with them. But for me, with Lucy's character with Death, I didn't have a choice. I could not bring in another actress to play Death because she had already acted with the previous actress as Death. Versus in the other two short films, 1692 and 1919, it was okay because those stories were not connected. So if you're not familiar with Haunted City, it really would help if you just watch the series. But Death has emissaries, spirits who Death chooses to act as, you know, vigilantes for injustice and whatnot. So the emissaries, they seek out bad people who've murdered people and give them their comeuppances, basically. In 1692, it was a character named Emily who was burned as a witch, and she gets her vengeance. And then in 1919, it was a silent film actress named Rose who was murdered by this guy, and she said no to, basically, and then she goes after him. And so because those two characters are not connected to Lucy or Jane or anything like that, it was a little bit more acceptable to have different actresses portray Death in those particular stories. So it's, I know it sounds like a mouthful, but like I said, if you watch it, it's a little bit, it's easier to understand. Oh yeah. Tyler asked, is John Wick connected to? Yes, actually. I did a short film called The Many Deaths of John Wick, in which I first introduced my Death character. In that short film, I did it in 2019. John dies. He gets shot by these dudes who he's just randomly finding in an alley. And then he wakes up at a table, and Death is at the other end of the table. And Death basically says, I'm a fan of your work. By the way, it's your birthday. And Death gives him like a little black birthday cake and everything. And John and Death have this back and forth, like, you killed my wife. And Death's basically saying, like, life happens, deal with it. And the only reason why you're still alive is because I let you. Because what John does is he murders people so well that it cleanses their souls. You know, that was kind of the whole setup. And that's how you can explain how John survives John Wick 3. fucker falls off a goddamn building, ping-ponging all the way down. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go get the people who betrayed me in the fourth film, right? So that was the first time I had that version of Death, and I liked that version of the character so much that when I did Haunted City afterwards, I invited that actress to come back as Death, and it basically was the same character. So yes, the Many Deaths of John Wick is technically connected to the Haunted City timeline. I just you know, I don't talk about it that much. Let's see, shucks, I used to bounce 2 nightclubs in this city. What city do you live in, dude? Because I'm in LA. Where are you at? Let's see. If you live closer, I'd hook you up. Most likely, people would love that. So I used to live in New York, but yeah, I'm in LA. So if you got like a nightclub in LA, you let me know, and I'm gonna come there and we'll film something. It'll be really awesome. So moving on, we are now at the Black Terror. Let me see if I can move myself over a little bit. Here we go. So the Black Terror was my first public domain character that I took on. I stumbled upon a Facebook group that was public domain superheroes, and I liked it. I just thought it was really fun. And I always saw the Black Terror, and I'm like, oh, I remember now. The previous year in 2024, I was trying to think of what to do, and I believe AJ, who is lurking in my comments around here, and another one of my friends, Don, had suggested the Black Terror as something to do because he was public domain. So I thought really hard how to pull that guy off, and I couldn't because he was so goofy looking. I mean, if you look at the costume, he's posed like Superman. He has a black and red cape, and he has a pirate skull and crossbones on his chest with a domino mask, and he's like, haha. And the way he was portrayed in the comic books was that, like, he's as friendly as Superman. You're called the Black Terror, yet you're like, it's okay, Jimmy. We can get Sunday scoops together. Don't forget to brush your teeth. Like, it was that kind of thing, and I couldn't rationalize it to myself. You're called the Black Terror. You should be scary. You should be a scary ass dude. So I tried to do that, and I had looked up other versions of what people have done with the character, and they all end up making him like the Punisher. You know, he's just an angry vigilante, and sometimes he has guns. Sometimes he has guns. Sometimes he doesn't. But either way, he's the Punisher. Now I looked up the original origins of the character, where he's like, how does he have his powers? And he basically vapes, or what was it? He snorts this drug, sniffs this drug. He's sniffing glue, and he becomes a fucking superhero. And I'm like, okay, that's a drug addict. So back in 2024, when I was trying to develop, the Black Terror, I thought, okay, what if he's a drug addict? What if he's a junkie superhero, basically? But again, I couldn't get the story to work without it just turning into a Punisher story. So I shelved it. And then I joined the public domain superhero group, and I was looking at like how everyone was like referring to the character and looking at other things. And I go, wait a minute, what if I just completely embrace this golden age thing? All the golden age superheroes essentially all did the same thing. They're all just random people who fight Nazis because it was World War II, right? So no matter how goofy the superhero, no matter how dumb the setup, it's always the same thing. A random person puts on a mask and fights Nazis, and now they're a hero. They join the war effort because that's what comics were. They were propaganda. So I thought, okay, fine. How is Black Terror? What am I doing? And I said, what if I try to do it in the style of a serial? The Republic serials, the 1930s. That could be fun, but that's also boring. I don't want to do a whole, because as great as the Republic serials are, or like the old Superman stories and all that stuff, they're still really cheesy at the end of the day. And cheese is fun to a certain extent, but when I'm trying to do something that I feel is meaningful, I need to do more than just a parody version of something. I don't want to just do, because I already done Robot Princess from Planet X in 2023, which was a full-on 1950 style movie with themes that I wanted to talk about and everything. But that level of acting where you're talking like this, or the like turning to the camera, oh Gene, if only you knew, that kind of stuff, it's goofy, it's campy, and I don't want to do that again when I've already done that. So I thought to myself, all right, well, what if that style is in his mind? Because he's wearing this stupid ass costume and he's going on swashbuckling adventures. What if the dude's is on drugs? I mean, the hero is literally on drugs. What if he's just fucking insane? And this is just like how he views the world when he's high. So that was what I decided to focus on. You have the opening act of the you have the opening act of the movie, and he is the haha hero, the Black Terror that everyone loves. Criminals fear him, and people love him. And then halfway through the story, the veil gets lifted, and we're stuck in modern day reality. What happens? And then you just see him become this violent, murderous psychopath. And I'm like, that sounds fun. So that's what I did with Black Terror. And that was a really fun and validating story, because now I'm telling two things I like. I do like being able to copy styles and emulate things from the past, but I also like to tell, character driven stories, or push characters beyond their breaking point and see how they deal with it. Um, it was kind of the first time I did that was with Our Man back in 2006. So, and it reminded me of that. Our Man is the Rick Tyler version of the character is a precog. He could see into the future, an hour into the future, I guess. And I had it that he sees a future where he becomes murderous and kills the people who tried to kill him. But then, of course, because he saw that future, he chooses to avoid it. So, but I like the original setup of that short film where he's like snapping necks on people, ripping off doors, and attacking the guys who killed him. They poisoned him with a drug and everything. So, and he had like a few minutes left to live. So for Black Terror, I went with that attitude of when you have nothing left to live for, what do you like? And that was a really fun thing to do. We shot that. Yeah, I think we shot that in about a day. We did all the scenes with Caroline and Tom in the office in the 1950s style. And because I'm shooting it like it was a Republic movie, these are static tripod shots, wides, you know. So stuff kind of goes faster when you're not when you're not focused on like insert shots, because back then they didn't care. They're just shooting everything far back and that's it. So that went by pretty fast. And then once we cut to the modern day stuff, it got pretty intense. I changed the lighting in the scene. Tom he's a sweater. He sweats like it's nobody's business. So he was soaking wet in sweat, and once reality kicked in, and it was pretty cool. So that was just a fun thing altogether. And the costume worked. As goofy and stupid as it is, it kind of worked. Then the next thing we did was the scene with the American Crusader, and that was a different night altogether. In fact, we shot that first, I believe, on the roof, and having the two of them interact, and that was fun because you get to Tom has these really great moments where you just see him broken and crying, and he's past his limit, and then you see the American Crusader, who's again in another goofy costume, but at least he's trying to take it seriously, and yeah, that was just the Black Terror. It was that was fun. Then let's see what we got here. The shift in tone made my heart drop. Good. Oh yes, and good afternoon to you too, Will the Trill. Thank you kindly. But yeah, I felt that with the tonal shift in the Black Terror, that was either going to make people go yeah, or I hate this. Because I know that there are some like purists out there who, when they're watching, nostalgia bait of, oh, we're watching something that's an ode to, old movies. The last thing they want is it to turn modern. So they just want that adventure. They want the carefree swashbuckling adventure, which is understandable. But pulling the rug out from under them was a real treat. I had made no illusions whatsoever that was going to happen in any of the promotions or the posters. Everything I did was any images I posted or posters I posted were all from the black and white version of it, the happy-go-lucky version of it. And then the modern ending, that was just a full-on kick in the pants for people who are watching it for the first time. And I did like everyone's reaction. And I gotta say about like 90% of people loved it, and maybe like 10% or 5% of people were like, "Oh, I hate this. You ruined the whole thing. Just do the whole adventure story." And I'm like, that's fine, but that's not satisfying to me as an artist. So deal with it. Let's see here. Tragic is what I thought. It was a tragic ending. It was a very tragic ending because spoiler alert, the woman he loves dies, and yeah, the veil is lifted, and now he can't go back to that happy-go-lucky way that he once was. And that's how reality is at the end of the day. I have watched your fan films from way back in the day. They're amazing. Thank you, Will. I very much appreciate that. And I thank you. I mean, how long you been here? Have you been here the whole 20 years? Did you catch me at some point and then just like check out the back catalog? Tell me, guys, who has been here since day one, and or what year did you find me? I would like to know. Moving on from the Black Terror, we have Phantom Lady, which has become a bit of a fan favorite. I was on the high of the Black Terror, and I thought, all right, who's another character I can tackle that I like? And I liked Phantom Lady because I had like her DC trading card as a kid, and I decided to look her up and see. Oh, what do we got here? Day one. You've been here since 2005. Good on you, AJ. I really appreciate that. So Phantom Lady was a bit of a challenge, honestly, because I looked up like what she was like, and her public domain version was like, and she's literally just in a yellow bikini, like the Baywatch style onesies with green Peter Pan slippers and a cape. No mask, no forethought, no nothing. And it's just like, come on. And then of course they always write, oh, she uses, because she's so beautiful, the criminals don't see her face because they're looking at her body. That's why she dresses the way she does. And like, that's stupid. Now I can understand a woman using her cleavage as a distraction. That's understandable. And I did give her cleavage in the short film because, yeah, I could get it. But I wanted to, when I say get it, meaning I could get how that could work. But I wanted to go a little bit more practical with the first version of the suit. And you will see an evolution with Phantom Lady between both chapters. The first one, I tried my hardest to be as accurate as I could. I gave her a yellow onesie, but instead of it being like a bikini bottom, I gave her like shorts. And then I tried to give her leg pantyhose and then thigh-high green boots with the long green gloves. The problem with that suit was it was so bright. That was a bright ass yellow, and I couldn't dye it any darker. So yeah, that was my biggest regret with the suit, was that it was just so freaking bright. It didn't make any logical sense to me whatsoever. But I was really happy with the story. I thought the story was really fun. Lindsay and Tom were great. Leon was great. And as I was saying before, we did the dance club scene with Leon using a projected background also. But this time I learned a new trick. For the opening sequence where Lindsay is talking to Leon at the club, at the bar, I built a bar and I underlit it, and that was really fun. Just in the bar itself was literally cardboard. It was just cardboard with a piece of plastic, acrylic plastic, and then my lights underneath, underlighting them. And then the projected background, but I added a layer of fog. I had a fog machine, so I hazed up the room to create depth. And that really helps. So if you're going to ever do a projected background, or you're just filming in general, get a fog machine, because fog adds a nice level of depth in your shot. So if you want to have like mood lighting, really helps. It creates light rays. It just makes everything feel a little bit more cinematic. And you can get a fog machine at like a Party City or something. For the second half of Phantom Lady, we had shot in a rented location, and that was a really nice. It had a great production value, and then yeah, that one went pretty smoothly. Honestly, that was a very smooth, easy production. I was very happy with how it turned out, and that one got 14,000 views, so it warranted a sequel. Anything that gets like a large amount of views really, really fast gets a sequel. So I'll tell you guys right now, all 5 of you that are here, if you want me to make more of something, you really got to get those views in fast, not over time. If I get 1 million views over the course of 10 years, you're not going to get a sequel to something. But if I get 10,000 views in 2 weeks, you're going to get something because, again, those are good numbers, especially with the way the algorithm has been kicking my ass. Let's see what's going on over here. We got Tyler. I found you while you were making Superman End of an Era, but I also watched your videos before that. Yeah, I remember that. End of an Era was 2019. Some good times. Let's see. I actually did catch you from back in 2009 before I even had a YouTube account. I subscribed to you back in 2015. Life got in the way, so I haven't watched your newer content. You have a lot of catching up to do, my friend. A lot. I put out 13 videos this year alone. So that's a weekend. Well, maybe a day. But yeah, if you watch at least the last like 3 years worth of my work, you ain't going anywhere for at least a good 48 hours. Nightmares on Halloween probably 15 to 20 years ago. Nightmares on Halloween is 21 years old. I shot it in 2004 and I put it on this channel today, 20 years ago. And the sequel I did in 2011. So yeah, you've been here for a while. Nice. Let's see. I remember back in 2009, your fan film, The Death of Michael Myers. That was 2007. I made that one. I knew Rob Zombie was remaking Halloween, and then we were never going to get any closure from Halloween Resurrection. So I decided to kill that version of Michael Myers off, and that was fun. Let's see. Thoughts on going back to Henry Resilient, maybe? Oh, yeah, totally. Anytime Henry needs me, I'm in. Like, I'm like Morty and Rick and Morty. Like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. So, yeah, Henry, if you're watching this, whenever you need me, I'm down, dude. And you come on this channel too. I want to interview you. I want to do like a deep dive, like a Hot One style, and I want to learn all your inner workings and how you go about doing what you do, because I like him. I have a lot of admiration for Henry Resilient. You can quote me on that. Let's see. Have you ever watched the movie Life Force? I have not. You can tell me about it, or I'll Google it later. So moving on from Phantom Lady. Okay, so by the way, I forgot to mention, in between when I released Stalker was not supposed to be released at that point. I was actually planning on doing Power Girl back then, but there was a problem. The actress that I had cast for Power Girl had bailed on me last minute, like the morning of filming. She bailed on me, and that created a huge problem because I was trying to, I now had to figure out what to do. So that project ended up getting delayed for 6 whole months. And that's why I put Stalker up. And that's why Turn 2 got made, because Brittany, who was in Turn 2, was supposed to be in Power Girl. And I wanted to give her something to do because that whole thing fell through. And then I was planning on doing Power Girl again in between Phantom Lady and US Agent, but scheduling was still a pain in the ass and casting was still a pain in the ass. And so I needed to do something, and I didn't want to have another gap, because I actually had a gap between Batman and Stalker. So I was starting to get behind on content again. I had mentioned earlier where if I make enough movies, I have them saved up for a rainy day so I can take a couple of months off if I have a couple of movies. Well, I was running out now. And so Phantom Lady came out and I needed to get something made. And I ended up doing US Agent, which took 3 production days because it was a very difficult thing. This is August we were filming in, and I was going to release that in September. And I had to deal with everyone's schedules. I had to deal with the blistering heat. And then I had 2 sweaty dudes in these big ass costumes trying to fight. So what we did for that was we had, I want to say, 1 day of fight choreography, and we filmed it and everything. And then we filmed all of the Taskmaster scenes in the bathroom and the rooftop by himself on one night. Then we had done the dialogue scene between Taskmaster and US Agent. So anytime that they were talking, even in between the fighting, that was 1 day completely separate. We didn't do any physical interactions until it was the actual fight day, because that's kind of a trick that I learned from Bruce Lee. They would film the fight scenes first and then do their dialogue because they want to get the fights out the way. I did it the reverse because I'm like, well, wait a minute, they're gonna get all sweaty and they're gonna ruin my costumes. They're gonna stink. So we're gonna get the dialogue out the way first, so before they're like hot and sweaty, and then we'll shoot the fight scenes afterwards because I don't have duplicates. And so the third day, we got together and we did all the fight scenes. So anytime in between those interactions when they're fighting, that was all one night. But it was really, really difficult because the guy who was Taskmaster, he had a lot working against him, especially the mask. It would fog up. It was hard to see. And so getting him to fight as well as we wanted to was pretty tough. Now, he did a great job for what he could do, what he could see. But definitely Jesse, who was the U.S. agent, he definitely carried that one by compensating for Taskmaster's lack of visibility. Also, his voice. The actor, if you hear when he takes off the mask, his voice is kind of on the higher side, and he did not sound threatening whatsoever when he was talking. So I actually dubbed him when he was masked, so it sounded scarier. And I try to sound more like Clancy Brown because I found out Clancy Brown had voiced the character on multiple occasions. So that was me doing all the talking with the mask on. But yeah, shooting in the hot, stinky August in LA, even in a garage at night, sucked. Like, you'd think you're in a garage, it'd be a little bit cooler. It wasn't. It was just gross and sweaty. I was sweating balls. All my actors were sweating balls. The costumes were soaking wet. It was a miserable experience, but it got done. And then I released it, and I didn't have to worry about missing my deadline. And then I realized I misspelled my fucking name in the opening title sequence, and I was so goddamn embarrassed and angry because I couldn't take it down. Literally, we're doing the YouTube premiere, and my friend messaged me. He goes, "Did you misspell your name?" I go, "Fuck! No! Oh my God, no!" And it was too late. I couldn't take it down. I couldn't remove it. We're literally in the premiere. 1 minute into the premiere, there's the live chat going that you guys are talking on. And I get a DM, and my friend's like, "You misspelled your name, dude." I'm like, "Fuck." So that pissed me off. That's only happened twice in 20 years. So I was pretty happy about that. But still, it's 2 times too many. After U.S. Agent, we had done Red Widow, which was not part of the original schedule. That was just something I wanted to do. I was talking with Lindsay, and she wanted to. We have the script called Red Widow, which was based on my graphic novel from 2021, and we're trying to get it funded. And she wanted to do something that would flex her skills as an actress that weren't just a superhero. And so I'm like, all right, fine, let's just do a prequel to Red Widow. The movie is the movie, and this is going to be a prologue to it, and that's where the title came from. And that was fun. She got to play a serial killer, and that's where we met Corey, who is Miss Fury. And I got to tell, a nice, fun, original story. The toughest part on that, honestly, was the stalking sequence. If you've seen Red Widow, there's a scene where Lindsay's character is stalking her ex-girlfriend, and she's intending on murdering her. And we shot that, honestly, I think 3 separate times because either A, I didn't have enough footage, or B, I didn't like the footage and I wanted to do it again. Everything from like her leaving the bar that she was working at, to crossing the street, to going to the garage, to getting into her car. 3 separate nights of trying to either redo the footage, get better angles, get better locations that were lit better, or just expanding on the sequence to make it work. Like, there's a scene where the Corey is walking down the stairwell, and then she stops because Lindsay's following her, and then she looks back and Lindsay ducks behind a corner to stay out of sight. That was added afterwards, and that was on the 3rd night. And it's definitely one of my favorite scenes in the movie. But yeah, 3 nights of just doing that one little sequence, which was interesting. You learn as you go. So that's a lesson to be learned. Let's see here. Life Force is a multi-genre movie, sci-fi, thriller, mystery, and horror. It's about energy vampires from outer space hidden in Halley's Comet found by astronauts, and they get brought back to Earth. Energy vampires are brought back to Earth. They shape-shift into human form. The female shape-shifts into a beautiful young girl. They always do. All hell breaks loose. Okay, cool. And Taskmaster, best live-action Taskmaster to date. Thank you. That's a low bar, unfortunately. One of the reasons why I did U.S. Agent was to actually give the real comic version of Taskmaster his dues. He got totally screwed over in Marvel. They wrecked the character. They nerfed him. And so and not because they made him into a woman, because they made him useless. In the Black Widow movie, she is posing as a man for no other reason than the reveal that it's a woman, and then making it into the girl that Natasha thought that she had killed was stupid. Why now she's getting to live guilt free because she didn't kill somebody, but it would have worked better if she had killed somebody. So that was dumb. And then in Thunderbolts, they fucking kill Taskmaster in like 1 minute of screen time. So yeah, that was stupid, and I really wanted to kind of fix that and give Taskmaster, because he's got a lot going for him. By the way, he has the memento thing where he can't make new memories anymore. So the only way he can remember anything is through fighting, and like he fights his own daughter just to remember her. And then I had it that he tattooed on his arm all the important facts about his life so he can remember those. And then yeah, he just dies at the end by of all people, U.S. agent, this insecure bootlicking asshole. And he's just like, I don't care, fuck you. And I thought it was cool. But yeah, they really nerfed Taskmaster in the MCU. So that was my way of giving him his just desserts, or giving him his dues. Any chance of doing a Stripperella movie? Give me money. I have no desire to do that of my own volition, nor to ask anyone to fund that through a crowdfunding scenario. That seems like a passion project for someone else. So if I ever did Stripperella, it's 100% a hired gun situation. You want it, you give me money, I'll do it, no problems asked. I'll even make it good. But I don't have any desire to make Stripperella on my own. So moving on, we finally get to Power Girl. Now, Power Girl, like I said, was a pain in the ass. Originally, I wanted to bring back Tanya Mannion, who was Power Girl 20 years ago. And I talked to her, I reached out to her, but she lives in New Orleans now, and she has her own life. She's married, she has her own business, and she's doing great and everything. And it wasn't in the cards. It really wasn't. So I began the arduous task of trying to find a Power Girl. Now, you'd think that'd be really easy living in California. Like, there's a beautiful blonde women all over the place. Yes, but finding a beautiful blonde woman who emulates the character the way I want. I'm not just doing Booby Girl. That's a reference to the joke in Power Girl 2 that I did. But I don't want to just have a girl who boobs her way into a scene and is like, ha. I don't want to do that. I want to do a serious take on the character. And I need somebody who has that level of over it. Because Power Girl is over it. You have Supergirl, and now they're doing with Supergirl in the DCU. She's over it because she witnessed Krypton getting exploded, and now she's an alcoholic and all these problems. And that's great. That's great for the character. Which, by the way, I want to point out, if you see my Power Girl short and you've seen the Supergirl trailer, you'll notice we both have the song Call Me by Blondie in it, and that is pure coincidence. I didn't even know that they were doing that, but I am kind of happy that they did do it, because that means I'm on the same wavelength as, DCU. So that was kind of nice. But anyway, I wanted to find somebody who has this level of for Power Girl. And I found Alyssa. And again, this is after trying to find like tons of people. Alyssa is literally, she's 6'1", and she's got like Allison Janney vibes, basically. She's got a deep voice. And to her credit, she actually cut and dyed her hair for the part. So I was really happy with that, because I didn't want to do another wig. I've been using a lot of wigs this year, and some look good and some don't. But anytime you get someone who actually is down for using their hair, especially for a physical role, thumbs up in my part, because she freaking headbutts somebody. She headbutts Lady Quark. So a wig could easily fall off or look stupid or whatever. So yeah, we filmed that in 2 days. We did one scene with in the apartment, and then the other scene, which was the fight in the, actually no, I'm sorry, I take that back. We did the now I'm blanking. Yeah, no, we did the apartment scene first, and then we did the fight scene in the woods, in which we wrecked the costumes. And I choreographed that fight also, and that was a really good fight. That whole sequence in the park was really good. The hard part about that one were the powers. Getting the heat vision, getting the lasers and everything like that was really tough when you don't have a budget. And I'm not a VFX guy, so I did the whole thing by myself. And I know it could look way better, but for what I was capable of doing, I think I did a decent job. Um, Also, one thing I realized is when you have a superhero that can fly, it sucks when you can't really show them off flying. You know, I always have to cut back to a wide shot and a blur just streaking across the frame, and I don't like that. So I tend to, you know, stay away from flying characters as much as possible in my stuff or ground them when necessary because yeah, if I could, I totally would have had like an aerial battle. But Power Girl was literally written 6 months ago and did not get made until October of no, I'm sorry, did not get made until September of 2025 because of all the problems I had with finding an actress to fit the part. And then Brittany was supposed to do Lady Quark, but she had moved out of town, so I had to get a replacement. Nakia Watts had come in. Nakia was in my Candyman short film, and so I reached out to her and brought her back. And so yeah, it was like I said, a very difficult movie to cast, but once cast, easy to film for the most part, you know, because I knew what I was doing. It was nice to revisit the character for sure, but and it also, I guess it kind of works that it's a different actress because even if you watch like my first two Power Girl shorts and then you watch like The World's Finest with Catwoman and Power Girl and then you watch this, given that Power Girl has lived through all of these crises in the comic books, I guess you can kind of accept that it's a different person playing her now because she got rebooted again. So, meta commentary. And now we come to my very last short film of this year, which is Phantom Lady Chapter 2, or Chapter 2 of Phantom Lady. That I shot back in October. And because the first short film did really well, like I said, we had 14,000 views, which, by the way, Power Girl raked in 20,000 views, but I kind of expected that because it's Power Girl. But Phantom Lady, a little bit more obscure character who raked in 14,000 views. I definitely felt the need to do more. Also, I wanted to get the costume right this time. The first one, as I said, was really goofy, really bright yellow, and in certain lighting, very unflattering. So Lindsay, of course, she's making fun of me, saying like, "Why do all these people get really cool costumes? I get these stupid costumes." I go, "Okay, fine. We'll make you something really nice." And so I made her this new costume. I incorporated more black into it. I gave her actual thigh-high leather boots instead of socks this time. She had black leggings. The yellow was a more mustardy, muted yellow, and the suit felt more practical and technical. She had a utility belt this time. And then I gave her that cool folding gun, the dart gun, and everything. And I wanted to just really continue the elements of the first film. I really like the idea of it being a political thriller. I think Phantom Lady works really well as a political thriller where you have this vigilante who's going after corrupt politicians, as opposed to, you know, the typical superhero story where they're going after madmen or psychopaths or criminals or tycoons who want to rule the world or stuff like that, but actually going after politicians who are affecting our laws or selling out our country. We don't get a lot of that in superhero movies. The closest we got, I think, was like Winter Soldier, which is a great film, and we really could use more of that, in my opinion. You know, so I just kind of wanted to go down that direction or further myself down that direction with part two and having her go after and deal with a conspiracy. You know, we already had with the first character that Tom played, Senator Chesley. He's selling out the country. Now we have a murder mystery, and you find out that it was all because someone wants to ensure their legacy. So that was really fun to do. That one I shot in 2 days. We did all the scenes with Stuart. I brought him back as the property manager, and then we did that office scene, and then we did all the scenes with. Actually, no, sorry, 3 nights. I take it back. Then we did the interaction with Nathan, who was the big dude, and then her snooping around, and then the final scene with the senator's wife. We shot her stuff on night 2, but it was getting late, And so I ended up shooting Lindsay's scenes separately in a different location altogether. And I had to edit that through lighting to make it feel like it was all in the same room, even though it physically wasn't. But it was fun. I liked seeing, as someone had mentioned, in the first film, how when Phantom Lady was fighting the two Russians, she had blinded them and attacked them. That was unrealistic, that she's just knocking these guys out. It should be more of a struggle. I go, you know what? Bet. Fine. You're right. So in the second one, when she goes up against Nathan's a 6'5" dude, and Lindsay's 5'7". He just freaking like grabs her and starts strangling her, and she like he unmasks her in the process, and she's completely in over her head that she has to resort to the dart gun to take him out. And I thought that was a little bit more realistic and cooler for that particular character, because you realize that she's not this infallible superhero who can just do anything. She's a real person who is only surviving based on her wits. She has skill, but she's smarter than she is capable, And I thought that was nice. We have, I think that's what I enjoyed about, I think that's why I enjoyed Phantom Lady films so much, especially Chapter 2. Totally unique and different from almost every superhero film. I agree. I feel that because you're seeing now a more vulnerable superhero, She's smart, and that's why, like, when she comes in, she gives the guy the candy. The candy is the drug. She got it instead of just shooting him or whatever. You see how she can be deceptive. She's, a phantom. But yeah, she drugs him. She gets the information she wants, and she's on top of gloating too. I thought that was kind of cute, where she's bragging about how she has a degree from MIT for chemistry, which is how she created her own truth serum. Then you see her getting the information she wants, and then the arrogance of, you're not going to remember me, so I can say whatever I want, and then the guy passes out. Then getting in over her head against the tall character. Tyler is the character, and then him almost murdering her, and she barely gets away. And then her mic drop moment with the senator's wife, where she's like just throwing evidence at her and live streaming her the whole time and embarrassing this woman, I thought was really cool. Because again, she doesn't have, not every superhero has to punch out the bad guy. Sometimes you just have to outmaneuver them, So that's the cool part about Phantom Lady. And so finally, we come to my newest project of 2026 on the far bottom right, Ms. Fury. Ms. Fury will be releasing on my channel in 2026, January 2nd, 2026. And what's cool about this one is there will be a nice cameo from Phantom Lady. I do connect these two. And one of the things I've noticed with a lot of the female public domain superheroes is that their origins are all the same. You look up Phantom Lady, you look up Miss Fury, you look up Black Cat, you look up Lady Luck, you look up the red lady, the woman in red, or whatever. It's always the same thing: a bored debutante, a bored, well-to-do woman who is looking for thrills and adventure and ends up donning a costume and fighting Nazis. Literally, they're all the same. And I wanted to give Miss Fury more. With Phantom Lady, I don't go too much into any of her origins in the first two shorts, but she still has like that Batman vibe. But I basically, she is rich. She does have money. She does have the means to do the things that she does. So I'll give it to her as one character. But if I'm doing somebody else like Miss Fury, I don't want that. I don't want to repeat the same formula. So I had to really overhaul Miss Fury and give her something new and something different. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. I really want you just to watch the movie and appreciate it for what it is. But I really wanted to ground this character in reality and give her motives that anybody could appreciate and understand, versus Phantom Lady. Yeah, she has a knack for justice, but she also has means and money to pull it off. Now, I didn't say how wealthy she is, but if you know anything about the character, her name is Sandra Knight. Her father is a senator, basically. So it just makes sense that, she would have wealth and influence, given that your father works for the fucking government. But that also is why Sandra, Phantom Lady, has such a bone to pick with corrupt politicians, given that her own father is in government. So she's like, ah. So yeah. After Miss Fury, I will be working on what was it? Three additional projects. I will share one of the images with you guys right now that I'm working on. Give me one quick second. After, let's see, after Miss Fury, we're going to be doing the Black Hood. Now, the Black Hood is a character that I have loved ever since childhood, but that was the Impact version that DC Comics put out. I can't do that version unless it's a fan film, and I don't want to do a fan film. I kind of wanted to try and stick with, the public domain thing. So, waiting for this thing to load. I'm going to be trying to do my take on the public domain version of the Black Hood, which is Matt Berland. So, if you've been on, my social media, you may have seen this image. This is our first poster for the Black Hood. He has a mask. I actually have it here with me, which is pretty cool looking. And he's a vigilante who wears. Am I holding this right? There we go. He wears a really cool mask. I can't hold this thing up straight. What's wrong with me? Here we go. Whatever. You get the idea. Anyway, I'm excited to pull this one off because it's going to be a nice, violent movie. The dude is just relentless. So I'm excited to make that. We're going to start filming that one after Christmas. So that will be a February release. And then after the Black Hood, I'm going to attempt to either do one of two projects. I'm going to be doing both projects, but I don't know which one I'll be doing first. So let me see if I can find it really fast. I will either be doing, come on, open up. I'll either be doing Catwoman, which will be a nice new take on the character. I will be doing the purple suit. I love the Catwoman purple suit. It's my favorite. So we're going to be bringing that back with a new actress because, it's been 20 years since I did the last Catwoman. And there'll be some nice little nods to other Catwoman stories that if you followed the Jim Ballant run of Catwoman, you'll recognize. And it'll be another fun story. So that'll be probably my first fan film of the year because, again, even though the public domain superheroes are technically fan films, they're public domain. It's like doing a Frankenstein movie. So I don't own Catwoman, so this is the first fan film of the year, and that will be Catwoman. And then either before or after that, depending on schedules and ability to pull stuff off, I will be doing this. I want to do we had mentioned Spider-Man Noir. I want to do Punisher Noir, which is basically a 1940 style gangster version of the Punisher. Now, I had mentioned how I had done this with the Black Terror, but that was done in the style of the Republic serials. And those serials were very hammy and over the top. This would be more in line with like a James Cagney movie or like the very first Scarface movie from the 1940s. So we're talking like almost Sin City, but I want like the Punisher to have like a Tommy gun. So by the way, if anybody has a Tommy gun, please let me know because I can't find them anywhere that don't look, cheap and stupid. I want to get like a nice, really real big Tommy gun for him to have. But yeah, I will actually have the Punisher in more of a classic costume. He'll be in a spandex suit for this one. Because if you watch like the old serials for like Captain America or Captain Marvel or Superman or even Batman, they're all in the suits. So I will have Punisher in an actual spandex suit this time, as opposed to in the past, I've had him just with the shirt on and then like tactical pants and a trench coat or whatever. So I'll go full on comic version of the Punisher. I don't think I'm going to give him the white gloves though, or white boots. I'm going to do black gloves and black boots. I just want the skull to kind of pop out. But that is also on the agenda. So you have, like I said, you have the Black Hood. Then you're going to have Catwoman. And then you're going to have Punisher, Scourge of the Underworld. And this will be complete, by the way, with like the 1940 style soundtrack as well, with the big orchestra and the tense music with strings and all that. And even like the acting, like when someone like is fighting or getting killed, I really wanted to feel like it was made back then. So I'm going to go all out. It's not going to just be a black and white Punisher movie. And then, yeah, that is what I got planned so far. Daredevil cameo, I don't think so. Just because Daredevil always has to be the guy saying, "You don't have to do this, Frank," and Frank saying, "Yes, I do." And that's silly. That dynamic wears thin very quickly. So I don't need that. This is literally Punisher doing his thing in the 1940s, and I don't need anybody standing in his way. Because if it was 1940s Punisher, he'd just shoot his ass then as well. Give him a fedora. No, he will not have a fedora, as he will not have a trench coat. That would not make any sense. He'd be fully comic accurate, with the exception of the color of the gloves and the boots. So yeah, no fedoras for the Punisher. I don't remember. I think he ever wore a hat, honestly, unless he was undercover. So that basically wraps it up as to what I got so far. If you guys have any questions, please ask them. I'll give you about 5 minutes left, and then I'll wrap this whole thing up. But yeah, that has pretty much been a year in review. What was your favorite movie that I put out this year? What was your least favorite movie? What would you like to see more of? Please talk to me, interact, engage. I'm excited for the Punisher. So am I, honestly. And I was joking. I know you were joking. It's okay. It's okay. I feel that for me, my favorite probably was, I have several. I really love the Batman, but Phantom Lady, specifically Phantom Lady 2, is definitely pulling from my attention. Yeah. And then, let's see. I also really enjoyed Black Terror just because it was really fun. So I don't know. Let's see. AJ says True Crime was dope. I did enjoy True Crime as well. I like the first one just because I think it really set up everything, but I also like the second one. So it's really hard for me to pick some of these. I think I made some really good ones this year, honestly, especially compared to last year. Last year I had I did several Haunted Cities. I think my favorite one from last year, though, was probably Haunted City 1919. I was really proud of that one. And then I think my favorite one from 2023 was probably Robot Princess from Planet X. But this one is a lot harder to choose, honestly. There's definitely a lot more going on, a lot more cooler things. Does anybody have any final questions for this or anything else? Please post it and I'll tell you. What do we got here? Phantom Lady 2 was number 1. As a horror fan, I really enjoyed Red Widow 2. U.S. Agent also rocked. Thank you. I'll say this. I actually intended on doing a completely different version of U.S. Agent at the beginning of the year. In 2024, I was gearing up to do a Tango and Cash commando style version of U.S. Agent, where it was an over-the-top bombastic 80s movie, complete with like a Kurt Russell style U.S. Agent, because Wyatt is playing him now. So I thought, what if we just went full on like Kurt Russell, where he's like, just kind of talking like this, just a little bit more, Jack Burton-y, I'm the U.S. agent kind of guy. And basically, he was just an asshole who didn't learn anything, a conservative asshole who didn't learn anything. And then due to the results of the election, I kind of felt I didn't want to do that story because I didn't like the idea of a conservative asshole who doesn't learn anything winning at the end. I thought that was just a bad idea, despite the fact that he was doing good in the story. I always liked the U.S. agent as a villain, right? And even though I was making him the hero of the story, it was supposed to parody those 80s action movies. And I just didn't like it. It didn't sit well with me given what was occurring. So I shelved it. And then when I decided to revisit U.S. agent, because I had the costume and I really want to not let that costume go to waste, and there's no way in hell I'm going to fit it. I decided, okay, fine, let's just make him the villain this time. And that's where Taskmaster came in. And it took me a month to figure out who would be a good person to fight, U.S. agent. And I finally came out with Taskmaster, and then the story came together and everything worked, and I was really happy with that one. But yeah, and then finally, I also love the Betty novel you put out. Thank you. The final, I'll leave on this one. I'm gonna just do one final promotion, and then we'll wrap the sucker up. January 1st, I will have a comic book releasing on Kindle. And where's the cover for the sucker? Let me see if I can find. Hang on, bear with me, guys. Here we go. So a certain character will be public domain in January, and I will be releasing a book inspired by said character named Betty. It's a nice black and white noir graphic novel. You can find it on Amazon January 1st, and I'll have a link on my channel as well as all my other social media and everything. But if you're looking for a nice Sin City style noir graphic novel with this beautiful young woman here. This is Amber, by the way, who's modeling as my character Betty. I highly recommend checking it out, and it will be available. So please check that out. That being said, I want to thank everybody for coming and joining me on my channel's 20th birthday today. That was really convenient, by the way, because I originally figured I was going to do the live on the 19th, but you guys all voted for the 20th, and that just so happened to be the exact 20th anniversary. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you for being with me all these years. Thank you for watching my stuff, keeping my channel going, contributing, helping me out wherever needed. And then, of course, just being here and giving me the feedback that you have. I really appreciate it. I really value it. So, yeah. That being said, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Enjoy it, be safe, have fun. And I will see you guys in 2026. Till then, bye, everybody.